Hello, my name is Maximiliano Morales, and I'm making this video response to talk about an important topic worldwide. Uh, we are going to analyze the question that is sexual education in children should be the responsibility of the parents or the school. Well, let's start with the anecdote of a woman that I found on internet about the sexual education of children. Well, the woman writes the next. Each should be parents with optional classes that are free to public for children whose parents can't or won't discuss sex with them. There are nuances of to the message that parents may want to impart that may conflict with what the school teaches. From the time they were little, I told my daughters that they could have babies after they grew up, went went to college and got married. After sex at school, my older daughter came home and informed me you don't have to be married to have a baby. A lifetime of conditioning nearly ruined by public school sex ed. I looked at her full on and said, some people who aren't married have babies, but you have to be married to have babies. I was raising my daughters on my own. I never wanted to be a single mother because I had heard all the horrid tales of their children becoming teen parents, getting into drugs and alcohol and criminal behaviors. I was determined that my daughters would have the best possible chance in life, and that didn't include getting pregnant before they were ready. Um, she got it when I told her that she had to be married. I do not wish single parenthood on either of my daughters. That being said, if one of them becomes pregnant, and this was true even back when they were teenagers and before they graduate from college, I will be in her corner as I always am. The constant that they have always had from me is unconditional love, which has only grown stronger and they have become adults. Well, this is the anecdote of a woman that talks about the sexual education of children, and well, at the final, I'm gonna give my opinion of what of it is responsibility of school or of the parents, but at the final, first we need to analyze this topic and then we can go. Well, first as I already told you, we start with the anecdote, then we are going to talk more about articles that answer that question that I say firstly. Well, so let's start with key points. A good strategy is to start talking to your child about sex when they are young and continue that conversation as they get older. A child is exposed to information about sex from sources such as school, friends, and the media at a much earlier age than many parents expect. Parents should not really on the school system to teach sex education. If your child is taught sex education at school, ask them what they learn and they review it with them. And the last point is sex education does not lead to promiscuity. Promiscuity, sorry. And then another topic, starting early with developmentally appropriate information about sex is a good idea. Well, let's start with this. Curiosity about sex is a natural step from learning about the body. Sex education helps kids understand about the body and helps them feel positive about their own bodies. Younger kids are interested in pregnancy and babies rather than the mechanics of sex. Discussing sex is also part of starting open communication with your child. Early, honest, and open communication between parents and kids is very important, especially when your child becomes an adolescent. If open communication is normal, kids are more likely to speak with parents about all the other trials or adolescents, such as anxiety, depression, relationships, and the use of drugs and alcohol, as well as sexual issues. Beginning a conversation about sex early and continuing that conversation as the child grows is the best sex education strategy. It lets parents avoid giving one big and likely uncomfortable talk when the child reaches adolescence and will have already gotten information and misinformation from their friends. These conversations are easiest when they come out of a life experience, like seeing a pregnant woman or a baby. When parents talk with their children about sex, they can make sure that they are getting the right information. Parents should be a child first source of information about sex. Understanding correct information can protect children from risky behavior and as they grow up. And because this is important because when you are a child or an adolescent, when you talk to your parents, it's uh, it's too important the things that they told to you because you you always think that your parents have their reason. You always are agree with what your parents said because you think that that is true always. So that's why the parents need to have a lot of information and correct information, so the child their children do not get fake information and they do bad things, no? So, and now let's start with stealing your family values. Well, education also provides an opportunity to instill your family values in your kids. For example, if you come from a family that believes intercourse should be safe for marriage, and this can be part of the discussions about sexuality. If the subject has never come up before, there is significant risk that your child, now a teenager, will not be receptive to this message. Oh, sorry. And now, if parents do not teach their children about sex, they will learn about it from somewhere else. Well, this is important because if the parents do not talk with their children about sex, uh, the children will learn about that by other ways, no? Maybe their friends or I don't know. Well, so a child's exposure to information about sex begins much earlier than many parents imagine. Not speaking with children about sex means parents will have little control over what and how they learn about sex. So, and now, school, schoolyard, and the media. Parents should not really on the school system to teach sex education, depending on where you live. Sex education may not even be available if your child is taught sex education at school. Review it with your child, ask them what they learn, what a child learns in schoolyard. Oh, sorry. What you're learning in schoolyard. Sorry. Depending on where you live, sex education may not be available. If your child is taught sex education at school, review it with your child. Ask them what they learn, what a child learns in the schoolyard from friends and from social media will be incomplete and maybe incorrect. It may also be demeaning or even dangerous. Although the media is full of sex and sexuality, it is often depicted in the most sensational and superficial sense. Realistic portrayals of relationships and sexuality are rare. More often, issues around sex and sexuality appear either without any context or without any emotional or relationship component. Moreover, the risks of sexual activity are often downplayed in the media. Another point: sex education is safer than no sex education. Well, studies show the more children are exposed to sexual images in the media, the more likely it is they will engage in sexual behaviors at a younger age. However, actual sex education does not lead to promiscuity. Children who receive sex education at home are actually less likely to engage in risky sexual activity. Having open communication with children about sex and other matters is healthy and safer in the long run. This does not necessarily mean it will be easy or without awkward moments. Teens are still very private people. However, speaking about sex early increases the chance that tweens will approach parents when difficult or dangerous things come up. And now let's talk another article that is the Journal of School Health. Who is the responsible for sex education? Well, let's start. It is generally agreed that parents are primarily responsible for sex education. By sex education, I mean all that is implied by family life education, social hygiene, education, and other titles used over the years. From the very beginning, we contend that the home is the best source for sex education, and much support came from parents, educators, and religious groups. Sex education in the home helps to strengthen important ties between parents and children. Most of us still feel that families are the most important social units in our culture and need and deserve all the backing and support we can give them. Few parents have done pretty well during past years in helping their children understand the important part sex plays in living. Others have not done so well, but with a little encouragement and help, most parents will do much better. We have found. Even fathers are now coming into the scene, especially younger fathers who have had training in public school or family life courses in college. Of course, most fathers still feel inadequate and embarrassed. Let's picture the traditional home scene of father sitting in his favorite chair reading the evening paper and mother in the kitchen getting supper. The daughter, a little 5-year-old girl, taps her father on the knee and asks that inevitable question: Daddy, where do babies come from? Their open father takes a firmer grip on his paper and says to himself, "Oh, brother, here it is. I knew it was coming sometime, but I didn't think it would be so soon." Now, what was it? What was now? What was it? Where we were going to say, but Daddy can't quite get. But Daddy can't quite get the right words together for some reason. Being a right KG person and not one to be completely overcome, Daddy snaps his fingers and says, "Go ask your mother." This is common practice, but is neither funny or commendable. For this, father is missing his opportunity of talking part in the more personal and intimate aspects of family living. He is playing the customary role of a father who provides well for his family, but can't be bored about trivial family matters. This father can tell a good sex story at the club and make everyone laugh. He may be a really decent fellow and in most ways a good father, but he doesn't have it in his vocabulary the kind of words he needs to answer his little girl's question about sex. For some reason, the sorry. Well, the article is finished. It is incomplete, but it gives the information we need.